I'd like you all to please stand for the posting of the colors by the Westbrook Posse Honor Guard. And that guard consists of Sergeant Jerry Coates, Sergeant Joe Capitano, and Melinda Terrell. And when they're finished posting the colors, would you please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
My command, forward march.
Honor Guard dismissed. And please be seated, everyone. I'd like to thank the Westbrook Posse for all that they do for the village. We feel profoundly safer because you're of your presence. I'm calling the meeting to order. And at this point, I want to introduce the Board of Directors and the General Manager. The Board of Directors are seated before you, and myself, I'm Board President. My name is Amy Miller. I'm Chairman of the Architectural Control Committee, the Cornerstone Committee Chair. I'm on the Personnel Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, and the 2022 Budget Committee. Board Vice President and Treasurer, 2 jobs. Sil Mariana, and Sil's on the Ways and Means as Chair. He's Chair of the Long Range Planning Committee, and he also head and chaired the 2022 Budget Committee. Max Allen, Board Secretary. Max Allen is Recreation Committee Chair. He chaired the Amendment Initiative Ad Hoc Committee, and he's also a member of the Cornerstone Committee. I'm sorry, that probably wasn't heard. Tom Kanieba. Tom is chair of the ITC Committee and also of the Personnel Committees. Michael Green. He's chair of the Landscape and Facilities and the Government Relations Committees. Gary Harmon. Gary Harmon served on the Long Range Planning and the Ways and Means Committees and also the 2022 Budget Committee. Steve Merkovich. Steve served on the Landscape and Facilities Committee and the Recreation Committee. He's also a pickleball president, which is a big job. Okay, at this point I'm going to ask Secretary Max Allen for proof of call and proof of quorum.
Written notice of the annual meeting stating the date, time, and
On here you go.
Can you stand up here?
Pursuant to Article 3, Section 5 of the bylaws of Westbrook Village, written notice of the annual meeting stating the date, time, and place of the annual meeting was mailed to each member on February 10, 2022, not less than 10 days, nor more than 50 days before the date of the annual meeting. Proof of quorum. At any meeting of members of the corporation, the presence in person or by valid absentee ballot of members holding 30% of the votes eligible to be cast at a meeting of members shall be necessary to constitute a quorum. There are 3,910 members in Westbrook, making a quorum of 1,173. We have met that, and I understand plus.
Correct.
That. So we have met the quorum.
At this point, I'm calling for approval of the March 17th, 2021 minutes. You all received a copy in your ballots when they were mailed to you. May I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
Johnson.
Okay. Did you get that, Jody?
Got it.
Okay, and I need a second.
Matthew Lewandowski, second.
I didn't get that name. Matthew Lewandowski? Is that right?
Lewandowski.
Did you get that, Jody?
Spell it for me.
Please spell your name, sir.
Lewandowski.
I would have been close.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes? If not, I'm calling for the vote. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Now we get to one of the orders of business of the meeting, and that's election of the new directors or directors, re-elections. We have 4 seats open and 4 candidates. They are Max Allen, Gary Harmon, Jerry Johnson, and Kim Mraz. Did I say that correctly? Good, thank you. And I'm also going to call at this point for any nominations from the floor of anyone who might want to nominate someone or themselves, if they're a glove. Okay. Okay, there are none. And with that, we're going to cast all final ballots. If you haven't had an opportunity to vote, I ask you to please go to the back of the room and cast your vote. And the ballots will be closed in 10 minutes, so it's now or never. At this point, it's my pleasure to introduce our General Manager, Karen Jones. She's going to give you a report on 2021.
Thank you, Amy. First, please silence your phones for the meeting this evening. As the wonderful Bonnie Franco once said, if your phone goes off during the meeting, you are going home with a puppy tonight. Boy, you guys all grabbed your phones real quick. Okay. Good evening, treasured Westbrook Village residents, and thank you all for joining us this evening for the 2022 Westbrook Village Association Annual Meeting. Wishing everyone well this evening. Hoping you were able to get outdoors and enjoy the beautiful weather today. This afternoon the wind picked up, but this morning was absolutely beautiful. I'd like to personally thank you for the honor of being your general manager for this remarkable community. Going into my 11th year, I thank you for your continued encouragement and confidence. It is truly appreciated. Thank you. It has been since March 2020 that we all gathered in this beautiful ballroom to discuss the health of our community. Then we all know what happened. Days after that, almost 2 years to the day to date, my how things have changed. Last year we held our annual meeting via Zoom. I don't know about you guys, I'd rather see you in person. These past 2 years have been a true roller coaster. We hope and pray we are on the road to some sort of normalcy. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the new normal is. Well, I'll have to wait and see. These wonderful volunteers seated before you this evening, your Westbrook Village Board of Directors, face decision-making we never thought would be necessary. They always put the best interest of the community as a whole first and foremost. Thank you all to the Westbrook Village Board of Directors. I stand here this evening feeling privileged to have been beside each of these fabulous individuals to guide in these very difficult decisions for our wonderful community. Your unwavering responsibility and guidance was beyond compare. Thank you all. I've had a lot of people this evening ask me about how my grandson is, so I'm going to throw in a little blurb. 2 years ago, I shared the joy of our first grandchild, our only grandchild, and he just celebrated 2 years. So he's doing wonderful, and he's the joy of our life right now. So, loving being a grandparent, I get it, you guys, I finally get it. On to our phenomenal community. Westbrook Village community continues to be one of the industry-leading, unique, active adult communities in this valley. Because of you, our residents. Without you, community has no meaning. Helping one another, whether it be a phone call, meal sharing, transportation to appointments, food drives, coat drives, or just a friendly wave and hello. It all matters. Haven't we learned how much it matters in the last 2 years? We've held our community together through so many challenges. I implore you all to continue with this human kindness each day within our village and everywhere you may go. A smile and a wave can truly make a difference. With all the craziness going on in the world right now, it begins here at home. Westbrook Village, with each one of us. We must live the change we want to see in the world. This is Westbrook Village. Be proud, be kind, and be strong. Thank you again to the Westbrook Village Posse and the Color Guard. Welcome to our new commander, Bob Serenero. Sorry if I chewed that up. Bob comes to our community with many years of law enforcement background. We are very lucky to have Bob as our new commander. Did you know that the Westbrook Posse is fully funded by your in-kind donations? They run solely on volunteers and donations. All of the Posse members are amazing and dedicated volunteers in this great community, and make many thanks to each and every Westbrook Posse member. I know they are currently looking for additional volunteers. If you have any free time, Melinda's in the back. Where's Melinda? Where are you? Talk to Melinda. She'll get your name. So again, thank you, Westbrook Village Posse. You've heard me say this many times before. Bring me a problem, but you must come with 2 possible solutions. I implore you as residents to do the same as I ask my staff. The more suggestions, the better we are as a community. This past year has brought challenges as well as good times. We are starting to gather again and attend events next month. Put it on your calendar to join us for a great evening with a tribute to Phil Collins. During the pandemic, we have continued to move forward with continued improvements to your common area facilities. By doing this, your enjoyment has been improved and your property values are protected. It's not been easy, but there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. First, Service Direct Landscape, better known as SDL on their shirts and on their trucks. Can you believe they've been on site for 1 year? Their maintenance division has made a noticeable improvement to the landscape of our great community, and they continue to improve each day. Did you know that in their first year on property, they have saved over 8 million gallons of water for our community? to almost a $15,000 savings. With the water drought in our near future and the rising cost of water, this is a must. If you see SDL, make sure you thank them. Give them a thumbs up. They're working hard in the best interest of our community. We don't have anybody here tonight, but just give them a thumbs up. Don't honk too much when you're going by. They jump a little bit. We had one of the irrigation tech at the landscape meeting, and I asked him to turn around. I said, we notice you from the back, not the front. So again, thank you to SDL. Everybody asks, what does it stand for? Service Direct Landscape. The Westbrook Living Magazine. Each and every one of you receive the magazine in your mailbox each month. What a great communication tool. Thank you to Lori and Judy for their continued dedication and love for our community. The magazine is such an important staple for our community. Now I'd like to share some projects that were completed in 2021. Numerous roof repairs, ongoing repairs and painting of 18.5 miles of walls. Anybody realize we have that many? We got two sides of the walls, totals over 18 miles. Still thought I was crazy when he saw the first amount of paint and repair that we spend on our walls. But it's a lot. Most recently, we're working on the 13-foot sound wall over on 83rd Avenue. I don't know if you've noticed that as you've been going by. That's been under repair and painting, and it should be completed as we speak. Sidewalk repairs, grinding and replacing as needed, keeping you safe as you go out and enjoy the beauty of the community. We reclaimed the Westbrook custom benches at the bocce ball courts. They're beautiful again and should last for another 30 years. Thank you, Jesse. Say hi, Jesse. We're really trying to save so many items that we have. We don't need to fill our landfills. UDC built things well. We just need to repurpose them. And Jesse has that great mindset, and I'm so excited to have that. Interior painting of both rec center lobbies, offices, the Vistas Ballroom, the dance room, Needle Arts, Fine Fitness Center, aerobics room, and numerous restrooms and other rooms. Updated furniture in the rec center lobbies, encouraging conversation areas and comfortable soft seating. New and improved security systems in all the association buildings. A brand new RV lot access and security system. All parking lots were repaired and sealed. Post-tension overlay and improved stadium court surface at the Vistas pickleball courts. Multiple new air conditioning units. New LED lighting at the Lakes tennis courts. New sports courts furniture. New doors on the administration building. I predict that our energy bill will be going down. We're not going to be leaking through the old doors anymore. Again, thank you, Jesse. Exterior lighting. If you haven't been by the rec centers at night, be sure to drive by. Jesse's put a lot of hard work into all LED replacing and uplighting to feature the beautiful architecture of our buildings. They look absolutely beautiful at night. We painted the outside of the whole Lakes complex. These are just a few of the items that have been done in your community, and I am very proud to say that I think it looks beautiful. All large-scale communities, such as ours, experience change, aging facilities, failing infrastructure, new trends, and ever-changing resident needs. We are no different, but the path we choose to move forward on determines our success. Long-range planning. Save the funds, communicate, obtain homeowner input, hire professionals, and get it done. Is this the easy road? No, absolutely not. But we all know good things never come easy. We must continue moving forward, financially responsible and efficiently. This ballroom, that swimming pool, and the upcoming Vista swimming pool remodel, I think all prove that. In 2022, the major improvement on the agenda is updating and remodeling the Vistas pool. Early this spring, we'll be shutting down the Vista swimming pool and beginning many years of needed repairs and improvements. We'll be enlarging the aerobics pool and the main pool, combining multiple bodies of water to one, combining 2 equipment rooms to one efficient facility, adding more seating, barbecues, fireplace, fire pit, and even a couple shade sails over some areas of the pool. Construction always presents challenges, but please remember, we are so lucky to have 2 swimming pools in our village, and you'll always have a place to swim or soak during construction. The project is expected to take nearly 1 year. Thanking you in advance for your cooperation and patience during these continued improvements. It will be worth the wait. This board continues to support fiscal accountability, and I'm thankful for that. Careful spending and close financial oversight continue to be the utmost importance for myself and the board. Sil will go into further detail on that for you next. Our volunteers, they all remind us why we all work so hard and why this village is so dear to all of us. Thank you for your time, energy, and smiles. Without you, we couldn't make this happen. I'm almost done, I promise. Next, I would like to ask all the Westbrook Village staff that are in attendance to come up front. We have a few new faces, and it's been a while since we've seen each other, so I'd love to introduce and reintroduce everybody. So if you just come stand up front. Don't throw water on them. They all grumbled about having to do this tonight. So, from my left, your right, Susan Fabian, Assistant General Manager. We'll hold the applause until the end. Thank you. Yay, Susan. Next to Susan is one of our newest employees, Sarah Maxwell. She's our communications liaison. She's beautifying and improving the e-blast, running the video tonight, and taking pictures. Next to Sarah, we have Ronnie Rozak. Ronnie is the new Recreation Center's assistant. His office is over at the Vistas, and we welcome both of the new employees. We're happy to have you on our team. Next to Ronnie is Jan Lawler, our Recreation Center's manager. Jan's office is here in the Lakes. Feel free to stop in if you already haven't done so. I know you'll get me for that tomorrow. Next to Jan is the infamous Jesse LaBlaca. Jesse is our facilities manager. I often say I want to bottle his energy. That list gets longer and longer because Jesse is always on the move. If you haven't seen Jesse doing his jobs, it's at 100 miles an hour, and we can't corral it, and I don't want to. Next to Jesse, Renee Larson. Renee is my left hand, right hand, left foot, right foot, our executive administrative assistant that keeps me organized and sending out the door to this meeting and that meeting. Thank you, Renee. A big challenge. Next to Renee, we have Debbie Thomason. Debbie Thomason is our admin, executive admin receptionist. She's been with us for 4 years. She's one of our family. If you haven't talked to Debbie lately or seen Debbie, she is another bundle of energy and always a smiling face at the admin office. Next to Debbie, we have Dwayne Michael. Dwayne is also one of our new team members. Dwayne is our resale assistant and our compliance person. You will see Dwayne out and about on the golf cart. Be nice. He's only doing his job. So, again, this team that stands before you is absolutely top-notch. I am so excited to see what the future brings. Everything that we've done and we plan to do in the next couple of years, just hold on, you guys. We have the team, and we're going to make a difference. Thank you all. You have often heard me say, you purchased your home here in Westbrook with an expectation and lifestyle in mind. It is our job to ensure that happens by maintaining the common areas, keeping them safe for you, fair enforcement of the governing documents, handling minor neighborhood issues, monitoring revenue and expenses, entertaining you, answering questions, listening and guiding you. Can we make all 7,000 residents happy? Unfortunately not, but we want to do what's in the best interest of the community, and that's our goal. We pledge to you to do our very best and give it our all here at Westbrook Village. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Next, you will get a slideshow presentation from Sil Mayorana, Treasurer. Watch the back.
Is this, yes, it is. Thanks, Karen. I've got to get an angle here where I can talk and chew gum at the same time. I've been your treasurer for 4 years, and I'm going to give you a 2021 financial overview as well as a look at the 2022 financials. So let's get started. Ronnie's going to help me. Slide, please. First of all, I'd like to thank those volunteers that serve on our financial committees. We have the Ways and Means Committee made up of board members, myself, Amy, and Gary, as well as Karen, our GM. We also have a 2022 budget committee this year, including Judy Hogan, Jerry Davis, Jerry Heschel, Bob White, Amy Miller, Gary Harmon, Karen, and Susan. And I want to thank those volunteers for helping out and doing a great job on that. Thank you. You know, I got a new computer and it's got new PowerPoint on it, and I did this. It's got so many cool things. You put in the word homeowner association, and look what pops up. It was really pretty impressive. So I don't figure any of this out on my own. I just push buttons. But anyhow, I'm going to give you the financial report for 2022. Today we're going to review the 2021 financials, the operations fund review, talk about our annual assessment. We'll look at our reserve fund, and I'm going to take a 4-year look at that. I think there's some interesting information there. And we'll talk about a reserve fund ratio, and we're also going to look at what our forecast and budget is for 2022 in both the operation fund and the reserve fund. Slide, please. I think it's important that residents understand the difference between our operations fund and our reserve fund. These are two separate, call them checking accounts, if you will. The operations fund is used to manage the day-to-day operations of our HOA. Those costs include landscape costs, which, as you can imagine, SDL that Karen referred to, pretty substantial every year. Landscape costs are employee wages and benefits, repairs and maintenance, insurance, utilities, etc. Most of the money for the operations fund is funded by your annual assessment that's due on the 1st of each year. In 2022, the annual assessment is $691. That's up from $656 in the previous year. We also include in the operations fund a line item. We consider it very important to continue to fuel our reserve fund. The reserve fund is, we'll talk about later, but the operations fund, part of your assessment, in total for the village, $200,000 in 2022, is going to be allocated to the reserve fund in order to keep our reserves high. And we'll talk about that when we talk about that later. The budget committee meets to create the budget for the operations fund. We do that in October, and the main objective is to break even. If we can afford a transfer to our reserve fund, that's great. If we can't, well, we can't. But that's part of the objective of the operations fund. Spend within our budget. Our budget is fueled by the assessments that are contributed each year, and we want to make each budget line item in total equal about what we're getting in revenue, and we'll show some detail on that.
The reserve fund, that's used for major improvements, equipment replacement, our infrastructure needs, and most of that money is coming from what we call the preservation fee. Everybody in this room has paid a preservation fee when they first bought in their home in Westbrook Village. I think the 2022 fee is going to be just in excess of $4,200, I believe. Or the reserve fund, but in total, we get 10% of that preservation fee is going into the operations fund. But when you close down your house, you pay this fee, and we're going to take a look at how substantial that impact is to our reserve fund. It's important to note that by Arizona law, these two funds can't be commingled. So we're going to see some large numbers in our reserve fund, but we go way out of our way. We have a financial system, the creation of financial statements that make sure to distinguish between the two funds. You cannot use operations fund to pay for reserve type expenditures, and you can't use the reserve fund to pay for operation expenditures. You will all be happy to know that we have an annual audit performed by an outside independent accounting firm, and I'm happy to report that the 4 years that I've been here, each year that has been a clean opinion. So what that does is give us comfort that the financial statements that we are presenting are indeed accurate and we can rely upon them. So it's very important that each year an audit be performed and we get that clean opinion. Slide, please. All right, let's look at the operating fund for 2021. This is a revenue and expense statement. The left column identifies a type of revenue or expense. We have our 2021 forecast. I use the word forecast interchangeably with budget. The middle column is the 2021 actual, what we actually spent at the end of the year. And the far right column is the variance between the budget and the actual. So talking about revenue, I like to use thousands of dollars in these presentations. It removes a lot of the clutter. So our member assessments were budgeted at $2,569,000. I'm going to get my, you can follow along here if you can see that red laser. $2,569,000. We collected all that money, so there was no variance. We also budget for other revenue. These types of revenues come from our rec center, rentals, the RV lot, and something called a resale disclosure fee, which is a portion of that preservation fee that's going into the operation fund, a small portion. We had forecasted $272,000, we brought in $309,000, so we had a favorable variance of $37,000. Our total revenue was forecasted at $2,841,000, we came in at $2,878,000, so we exceeded our forecast by $37,000. That's on the revenue side. Now we'll look at the expenses. The broad category of expenses are administrative, landscape, staff payroll and benefits, pool and rec center, and other. In total, we had budgeted $2,745,000 among those categories. You can see the largest one is our staff payroll and benefits, $1,253,000. This column shows what we actually spent for all those expense categories. You can see admin expense, we almost hit that number to the button. Landscaping was $780,000, that's a $22,000 favorable variance. Staff payroll and benefits, we actually spent $1,033,000, so we were $220,000 favorable on staff payroll and benefits. And that's got a good news and bad news story I'll talk about in a second. Pool and rec center and other, in total, the budget called for expenditures at $2,745,000. The actual was $2,553,000. We were favorable in our expenses by $192,000. Now the 2021 Budget Committee had identified a transfer from the operating fund to the reserve fund of $95,000. But as it became apparent towards the end of the year that we were operating at a healthy surplus, the Ways and Means Committee decided that it would be prudent to transfer an additional $150,000 from the operating fund into the reserve fund, such that their total actual for the year was $245,000. So the total of all our expenses forecasted $2,840,000, actual $2,798,000, a $42,000 variance. If you take your favorable variance in revenue, $37,000, favorable variance in expenditures, $42,000, you get a net operating surplus of $79,000 in our operations fund. Slide, please. So we had a $79,000 operation fund surplus after making a $150,000 transfer to the reserve fund. I just mentioned how the original budget called for 95. We made a late decision to move another 150 in, so we spent 245,000. The big driver for that decision was that our budgeted employee wages and benefits exceeded the actual spending by $220,000. Like I said, that's a good news and bad news. The good news is we underspent our budget and we had some extra money that we could transfer in our reserve fund. The bad news is, you work with these folks. I've been doing this 4 years, so I get a little. The bad news is you had 13 employees, we have 18 full-time positions, and we, for much of the year, only had 13 people perform that work. So that was a lot of extra hours, extra tasks. And when you work with these folks every day, you see what they go through and the effort that they had to put through. I want to thank them. It's not easy doing what they do, and I think everybody in the village should understand that. Now, the good news is we've hired, and they were introduced tonight, at least 3 out of the 5 positions have been hired. So the workload hopefully will be managed a little better next year. And we're glad to have these folks on board, and I think they're going to do a great job. So thanks for that. Slide, please. All right, the annual assessment went up $35 per home, a 5.3% increase. That increase is generated from the CPI that we look at every year, and that's in our CC&Rs, and that's what it allows us to increase by. That was only $35 per home. Now, the current inflation is a big consideration. When we put the budget together in '22, we knew that inflation was hitting. I think back in October it was in the 5% range. You guys don't know where it's at now. It's starting to push 8%. So we're going to be watching that pretty close in 2022. There could be some substantial increases in some of our costs, specifically staff wages and benefits, cost of supplies, landscape materials, and our outside services. All those costs went up. I mean, we have computer maintenance agreements, payroll services, accounting services, insurance, etc. So inflation is going to impact us, and we'll be watching that close. Slide, please. So in summary, on the operations budget, we had a $79,000 surplus. We transferred $245,000 to the reserve fund in order to continue funding for the future, and that came as a result of a favorable variance regarding our salary and wages account, and the annual assessment went up to $35 a home. Thank you. Next one. Slide. Yep. All right, let's look at the reserve fund. We ended up the year with $3,935,000. We spent $537,000, and we ended up with a reserve fund ratio at the end of the year of 126%, which is a staggering number in a good way. What is the reserve fund ratio? Well, it's the ratio of your cash on hand divided by the fully funded reserve amount, where the fully funded reserve is an independent appraisal performed by an outside agency. I'll talk about that in a second. The industry standards for HOAs maintains that 70% is a strong position. So we're at 126%, so that is off the charts good. Slide, please. Looking at 2021 reserve fund results, we started the year with $3,211,000. We brought in cash from new homeowner preservation fees of a little over $1 million. We transferred $245,000 from the operating fund, and we earned a little bit of interest. It's pretty pitiful what they pay nowadays. And got some grant funding, so we had total cash available of $4,472,000. The expenditures, improvements for the lighting of the tennis court, pickleball courts, perimeter walls, painting that Karen mentioned, asphalt that Karen mentioned, annual irrigation system upgrades, heating and air conditioning, stucco repair, total $537,000. So this is how the calculation works, and I focus on this number a lot. I think the reserve fund ratio is something we do monitor monthly. It's something that's very important to, I think, emphasize the financial strength of the organization. So that calculation has been a part of my life now for 4 years. We had cash on hand at the end of the year of $3,935,000. The fully funded reserve was $3,118,000, and that's where you get your 126%. I want to talk the fully funded reserve amount. An outside agency comes in and appraises all of the assets, anywhere from all the water heaters, heating and air conditioning systems, parking lots, pool filters, you name it. Each item is analyzed and make a determination as to the age of the asset, the useful life of the asset, and the replacement cost of the asset. You mix all that together and you come up with a fully funded reserve. And we monitor, like I say, the fully funded reserve at the end of the year. It's very important that we stay in a healthy position, and 126 is a big number. Slide, please. I thought it'd be a good idea to look at 4 years. Since I've been around for 4 years doing this, I wanted to take a look of where, first of all, where our money comes from in the reserve fund. So you can see that each year, 18, 19, 20, and 21, we generate revenue from preservation fees. 663, 878, 844, a little over $1 million. 4-year total, $3,391,000 came from new homeowner, first time purchase in Westbrook Village, and what they pay in their closing in the preservation fees. We also had transfer from the operations fund. We've talked about that. $300 for the first 2 years, $235 and $245, so a little over $1 million from the operations fund. And we also used to earn some decent interest, but not too much anymore. $169,000 over a 4-year period. In total, over 4 years, we have brought in $4,640,000 into our reserve fund, 73% of which comes from new homeowners. There have been 993 home sales over the 4-year period, and it's an average of $3,414 per home is generated, $3,391,000. So when people talk about how wealthy the homeowner association is, keep in mind where that money came from. Folks who buy in here, and they have any number of reasons to buy in here, but I can guarantee you that the way we keep our facility up and continue to invest in our facility is a big reason they're here in the first place. So they should be comforted knowing that we're taking their preservation fee and we're investing it in our facilities. Existing residents have paid $276 over that time, so a small portion of your annual assessment goes into the reserve fund. Slide, please. Now let's look at the spending. Again, over a 4-year period, we spent, and I arbitrarily created two categories of expenditures out of our reserve fund. I call them infrastructure projects and major projects. So you can see over the 4-year period what we've spent in each one and how much in total we've spent. Obviously, our major projects in 18 and 19 involve the ballroom and the pool here, as well as the Edgewater wall repair. We've slowed down on major projects in 2020 and 21, and we've been somewhat consistent on the infrastructure projects over that 4-year period, such that we've spent $1.1 million in infrastructure, $3.5 million in major projects. And again, the types of infrastructure projects, the painting, the common walls, computer systems, heating and air conditioning, etc. Pickleball courts, Edgewater Road, and of course the Lakes Ballroom and Pool. Can you, $4,676,000, can you go back one slide, Rennie? I found this amazing. Total revenue brought in over 4 years, $4,640,000. Slide, please. Total expenditure, 4 years, $4,676,000. It is remarkable to me that almost the exact amount that we've brought in was spent in the reserve fund. And keep in mind, the good news is that the current cash on hand reserve fund balance is $3,935,000. So what that's telling me is in 2018 we began the year with $3,935,000. In 2021 we ended the year with $3,935,000. And in the interim we spent $4.6 million improving our facility, which I think is remarkable. And the energy expended to do that is no small task, believe me. Between the HOA board, the committees, the staff, all the work to line up contractors, requests for bids from contractors, bringing in contractors, reviewing contracts, monitoring the work. It is an extraordinary amount of effort and teamwork that has to happen to successfully continue to improve our community, especially to the tune of $4.6 million. So I think this is pretty impressive, and I'm proud to have been a part of it. Slide, please. In 2022, what we're going to do in the reserve fund, well, same kind of spreadsheet. We're going to start the year with $3.9 million. We're budgeting for 200 homes this time, $766,000 coming from new preservation fees, $200 from the operating fund and some interest. We will have $4.9 million available to spend. And as Karen alluded to, we got some expenditures going. The biggest one, the Vistas pool, including landscape and furniture, is going to be $864, plus all these other areas. I like this outdoor socialization for $140. We've really got the feel that many residents want to have more opportunities to have outdoor social areas, and that's going to happen a little bit. The total expenditures are about $1.7 million. That will leave us with end-of-year cash on hand of $3,229,000. 2022's fully funded reserve is $3,286,000. This reserve fund ratio will still be at 98%. So that is extremely strong, and we're able to invest about $1.7 million in improving our community. Slide, please. So in summary, we're in a strong financial position. Our operating expenses align with our revenue, which is generated from homeowner assessments. Going into the year, our reserve fund ratio is 126%. And for 2022 and beyond, these are kind of my words to live by as your treasurer: maintain fiscal responsibility and invest in our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sil. I'll miss you. I do owe you that drink at Arrowhead Grill. I can just get to it. Thank you. So, I'm down to one of the fun parts of the night where we get to recognize people who volunteer their time in Westbrook Village. And they really help make the village be a remarkable place. And let's see, these villagers that realize that Westbrook starts with the word we, and have acted upon. Our sincere thanks and appreciation goes out to each of them, as Westbrook is a reflection of their efforts. I ask that each recipient stand for a brief applause at the end of their bio. Please. Okay, so first up is Mary Bailey. Mary, can you stand for a second, please? Been a long-time essential volunteer in the community, known for her delightful smile and willingness to assist, whether it be on one of the many association mailers or collecting food for donations for St. Mary's Food Bank. Mary is sure to assist on the project and share a smile that will make your day. Mary, Westbrook Village thanks you and the thousands of people you've helped to feed over the years. Thank you very much. Tom Kaneka. Tom's tireless dedication to the community has been such a welcome addition to the board of directors and multiple committees he's worked on. His commitment and dedication will have a long-lasting impact, and we cannot thank Tom enough for his time and dedication. And everything he did had a huge degree of integrity. Thank you, Tom. Donna Chakrabarty. Is Donna?
There she is.
Where do we start? Donna has been the administration volunteer extraordinaire. We call on her for so many projects and assistance, which she does with no hesitation. She also volunteers on all association mailers. Donna was unanimously nominated as 2022 Volunteer of the Year. Thank you, Donna. Jerry Johnson. Many villagers know Jerry for his volunteering as board of directors, but it goes much farther than that. Audio and video for events, meetings, and special occasions, Jerry's there to keep them up. Photographer, videographer, City of Peoria Government Relations, and chair of the Amendment Initiative, and so much more. The management team has titled Jerry as Mo, Master of Everything. Syl Mariana. Syl's dedication to ensuring the continued financial health of our community has been tireless, one spreadsheet at a time. I love the spreadsheet, so. In Syl's 4 years on the board of directors and as association treasurer, he's created homeowner confidence in our future ability to continue moving forward with a long-range plan of continued improvements for our common area facilities. Thank you for volunteering. The last one on this part is Clark Stout. And Clark moved away a couple of months ago, and I emailed him recently and asked him if he had anything he wanted me to say. And I got a very Clark response. So here's what he asked. Being on 6 or 7 various committees during this time and watching the association modernize and move forward as an enjoyable community has been well worth the effort expended. Westbrook Village is a gold mine as far as a 55 and older community, and I encourage everyone to get involved and experience the happy times myself and my family have had during these past years. You'll surprise yourself with the satisfaction that comes from it. And Clark always claimed that he was my campaign manager, which meant he rode his bike around and put flyers out for me, so I really appreciated that. Thank you. 2021 Employee of the Year, Carolyn Sargent. Carolyn has been a committed, knowledgeable, and valuable asset to the Westbrook Village team for 16 years. Her commitment to following policy, researching better ways to do things, and her behind-the-scenes hard work on the annual club president's package, and most recently picking up additional workload, which includes putting together the WVA craft show, has been invaluable. Her nomination came as another unanimous from all involved. Thank you, Carolyn. And I'd like to once again thank all the volunteers. The village keeps improving because of your involvement. And we encourage everybody to please become involved and help us all out. Okay, at this point, I believe we're down to comments from the floor. Be kind. So if anybody has a comment or a question, we'd like to hear from you, and we'll get microphones to you. If you stand up and say your name and the subdivision where you live, that would be helpful for our minutes committee. Oh, come to the center.
Hello, everyone. My name is Herb Wolf. I live in Ironwood Estates. I have a comment and a question and a concern. Comment, I'd like to echo Karen's thoughts about our new landscaping company. They have made a huge difference, so keep them on. Question, flippers in the neighborhood, are they paying the preservation fee also, and if not, why not?
They pay according to our documents.
We can't hear you.
According to our,
It goes off.
according to our governing documents. There you go, you got it.
Check, check, check.
Thank you, Jesse. Okay, according to our governing documents, it's not collectible at this point. That's one of the issues we wanted to confront with the amendment initiative change. But flippers are given a bad name by a lot of people in the community because of this, but I always try to remind everyone, flippers raise our house values by the improvements they make, mainly on the interior of a property, but it raises the house value. So they do contribute, but we're still looking at that issue. But thank you for raising that at this point. Yeah, they have to pay the first time, and then when the ultimate buyer buys, they pay again.
I agree that they improve the neighborhood, but I think maybe there's even a half fee, something, you know, to...
Yes, because of the governing documents.
Okay. And finally, a concern, a safety concern, and I do have a solution, Karen. On Edgewater, on this side, obviously, onto Westbrook Village Parkway, and I also had somebody comment about Lakeview over here on this side. Just last week there was an accident, golf cart and vehicle. Luckily the golf cart person walked away. But in me personally, driving a golf cart back home to Ironwood, I've almost gotten pasted twice, and I'm looking. So the problem is the shrubbery blocks the sight line. And that needs to be cut down severely, because if you're in a low-profile car or golf cart, you can't see if somebody's coming. And it's the same from the other direction.
We'll get right on that.
Thank you.
Check, check. Okay, we're still okay. Okay, anyone else have any comments, questions, concerns? Please come forward. Hi, Talman.
Yeah, since nobody has anything to say.
Okay.
I'm Ron Harris from Cambridge Crossing. I have a question. perhaps we can start the meeting at 7 o'clock. There are some residents who are still working. Those of us, and like perhaps the majority who are retired, are not sitting home and doing nothing. It will be easier if we do start at 7.
I think that's a great observation. Thank you. Can we have your name and
My name's Joan Behrens, and I live in Village Terrace 1, and I apologize if this is a stupid question. Who among the board is leaving? Great, thank you.
Tom said it was the two pythons. Any other questions or comments? Yes, can you please come forward? And your name?
My name is Joanne Sacco, and I live in Torrey Pines, and it was about the preservation fee. I know a while back there was this vote taken. Is that the vote you're talking about that it's waylaid by many months? And the preservation fee was in there. So that what's holding it up?
Was that the amendment initiative vote? And the board put that to a rest for a bit while we have a discussion with the community and whatnot for the justifications on that.
I think, for me, I found it very difficult to understand. If it would be written out like you were in kindergarten, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, maybe they'd understand it more, because I have friends that are against it, but I have friends that are for it.
Right.
So it's very difficult to understand. Anytime you put some ands, ors, or buts in there, people aren't going to understand it. And, sorry,
No.
I went to look at a casita, just thinking maybe I would like to downsize. And the casita was, I'm just in the middle of doing a remodel of my house, so this house was very remodeled, but it was a casita. I left a message for the realtor, and he called me back, and he said it was $528,000. $528,000. Well, then that would make my house $600,000, which is great. But the more I talked to him, he told me he not only had that house on the market, he was buying another house right in the middle of it. So he says, I buy low and sell high. Well, our community should be getting some of that money. It would draw the price of what it was.
Should be getting some of that money in what way? Part of the percentage of the sale is what you're saying? Because of the preservation fee, it does.
Only one time. Only one time.
If he owns a house, and that is one of the things that, like I said, that is one of the primary concerns that we have, and why we would like to have a discussion with the community regarding the amendment initiative.
How long has that been going on?
How long has that been going on?
It's been a while.
It has been going on a while, but we did a survey recently, and we felt from the response on the survey that more needed to happen. So,
Right, but
more education.
And again, if they would just understand it, what the differences are, maybe they would vote. Maybe they would understand.
Yeah.
If a no vote, if they don't vote, it's a no vote. So they need to understand it.
The ad hoc committee concluded that the first wording was confusing, and so we tried to put out there that what if we did it at a straight percentage and whatnot, where it was going to be much more straightforward and more readily understood. And I suspect that that will be the forthcoming way it's written.
I have a suggestion, get a kindergarten teacher in there, and write it up, and maybe somebody would understand it.
Okay, that's great, thank you. Anyone else? Comments, questions, concerns? Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. At this point, we're going to announce the election results. And do I get any kind of tally or anything? I don't really need a tally, I just wanted to make it look official. And the joke is here that we have 4 open positions and 4 people running, so quite obviously, unless there was someone who didn't vote for themselves, everybody received enough votes to be placed on the board. So, once again in alphabetical order, the winners are Max Allen, Gary Harmon, Jerry Johnston, and Kim Morass. I look forward to working with you all. Okay. I'm going to announce that the next Board of Directors meeting is the organizational meeting. We will be electing new board officers. And that's Wednesday, April 6th at 2022 in the South Building at 8 a.m. And the regular board meeting will be immediately after that time. So, thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate your interest in your association. Thank you, and hope you all have a wonderful evening.